I'm 54 years old. Am I too young to retire? I don't have a savings. I don't have a pension. I barely have a 401k. What am I going to do? This is not the top 5 reasons you should retire early. Whatever your idea is of retirement, you need to go for it. We need to plan and execute. And I hope that you have things in place that I don't have in place because my struggles are trying to get those in place. I'm not looking for an amazing life of adventure, but I am looking for quality. I'm looking for time because we're all running out of it. It's the only thing, the only commodity that we have left. Money really, it keeps us going. It pays to keep the lights on and stuff like that, but it doesn't give you joy. Time gives you joy. Time gives you time with your grandkids and your spouse and your friends, whatever it is. Time allows you to fulfill your dreams of, I've never visited wherever, California. I've never been to the ocean. I've never flown in an airplane. Well, that one would cost you money. But in general, if you can budget it out, you can do those things. I've been combing the internet, looking for information that I could find that relates to me. And all I find is all these extravagant videos. Some guy talking from Australia, he's got this wonderful accent. He's putting all these graphics up on the screen, and there's charts and there's graphs and everything telling you about how much money you're going to need and how you got to get your $1 million in your account ready to go with 401k and all this stuff. And it just doesn't apply to me. None of it applies to me. Um, it's it's this information that's out there is it's for somebody else. Now, I did a little research, not much, but about 30% of Americans or people in general, I believe it was an American census, but have a 401k and they have uh, a pension plan. And of course, they're going to collect Social Security, but they have these other things in place that's getting them ready to retire. I don't have those things. And I have a feeling most of you don't either. And it's concerning. You know, one of the things that I looked at was Social Security. Now, Social Security started around 1931, something like that, and or 35, 1935. And in 1935, they just came out of the Great Depression. And anybody that had a job didn't want to give it up because they had not been working for so long. So they came up with the idea of Social Security to help offset the loss of income from stopping working. And they needed the older generation to stop working so the new generation could come in and continue the work. And they created this Social Security thing at 65 was the age group. And it opened up more avenues for younger people to continue working. And apparently it worked. But you skip forward to like 1961, they ended up changing the minimum age down to 62 years old. I believe it's 62 and a half. And once again, I believe it was because of the workforce needing to change out. That generation needed to move on for the new generation to come in. And people were staying in their jobs longer. And people were not leaving. And therefore, there wasn't any space for the new young people to come into. Um, Either way, if you start thinking about it, statistically, people's health start to drop right around the age of 72 to 75 years old. If you retire at 65, and at 75, your health starts taking a dive, you had a whole 10 years to enjoy your life after working your entire life. I've been working since I was 14 and I'm 54. That's 40 years. But if I go till I'm 64, 65, uh, that's 50 years. So work for 50 years and enjoy 10. It doesn't sound like a good idea to me. I want to try enjoy as much. Now, that's not everybody's story, of course, because health problems don't plague everybody. Some people get health problems at an early age, and some people much later in life. My dad upstairs is 93 years old and still in relatively good health. Now, he can't work, but he can still do things. He can still enjoy part of his life. And he actually did all the way through his 80s, was still very active, and was able to take trips, and a little bit of camping stuff, things like that. And that's great. Not everybody has that as their story, and I don't know if I will. But I've done a few things to put myself in a position, hopefully, that I will stay healthy enough. I try to eat healthy. I try to exercise, doing resistance training with weights, because our bodies get frail as they get older. When we're young, in our 20s and 30s, we can eat whatever we want, and we can not exercise and still be in great shape. The hormones take over and they heal the body quickly. They give you that energy so that you can function. But when you get older, the hormones aren't there like they used to be. And your body doesn't recover like it used to. So you have to take care of it. What you put into it, you're going to get back. And so I try to eat healthy the best I can. I've been on and off the carnivore diet, and I am probably like 85% carnivore diet right now, which has worked great for me. There's a lot of fad diets out there, but if you look into the science of it, your body only needs protein, which comes from amino acids. Your body needs amino acids. That comes from protein. So the other way around. But your body also needs fatty acids, and that comes from fat. Those are essential, just like having the basic nutrients or elements like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. And you need those, and you need the amino acids, and you need the fatty acids. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. There's no essential sugars. Your body doesn't require them. Your liver, right here, your liver makes glucose every day, and it stores it in the form of glycogen in your muscles. If you don't have any muscles to store it, then you don't have an energy reserve. So exercising helps, but your body still makes it every day. So you always have sugar readily available. It's when we eat carbohydrates, and sugar-based foods and processed foods that we're overloading our body, putting it into overdrive, just trying to get rid of and balance and break up the sugars and distribute them where they need to go. And if you don't have the muscle, or you're not active enough, you're not getting rid of those sugars, and it causes damage. So I try to keep that in my mind every time I want to have a scoop of ice cream or a slice of pizza or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I do have a little here and there, because I like to treat myself, something yummy. And a lot of people, food is the one pleasure they have in life. They work and they come home and they take care of their family, and they don't have pleasures and they don't run around and do things. I am one of those people. And so when I can get me a good, tasty, fat, juicy burger, I'll do it. I try to skip the French fries if I can, and that way at least I'm still getting some protein out of that burger. Um, but taking care of your body is what I'm getting at, and that's an important thing to do. So once you start reaching the age of 70 or 75, it's even harder for your body to keep up. And taking care of your body now, anytime you start you're going to do good. My 93-year-old dad upstairs, if he started going to the gym and exercising, he's going to strengthen his muscles. He's going to have more energy than he did when he wasn't doing it. His body is going to recover every night a little bit from the exercise that he did, and he's going to feel better the next day. It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter what your conditions are. You can find a way if you're determined. And I am. I'm determined to do the best that I possibly can to make sure that I'm healthy enough to enjoy myself. Because what I don't want to do is be laid up on a couch or a recliner or sitting on the front porch and, watching the traffic go by or watching the grandkids run around, and I can't get out there and enjoy the time with them. So I am making sure that I do what I can to take care of me so that I can enjoy that, so I can run around the yard with them or play ball, or on my retirement I can go hike up a mountain, not a big mountain, okay, but I can still hike, and I can still get outdoors and enjoy myself, and I can work on my RV or work on my house or whatever it is, and not be flailed by health conditions that are brought on by poor eating habits and sedentary lifestyle. Have you ever come across somebody that you met, and when you found out how old they are, you were like, oh my God, I thought they were much older, because they look bad. Um, Sometimes that's genetics, and sometimes that's lifestyle. I see people being in the medical industry that blow me away. People that are the same age as me and are using walkers and oxygen tanks or have a multitude of health problems. And when you ask them, what have you done throughout your life to take care of yourself? What type of things have you done to make sure that you're healthy enough to get to this point? In so many words, it's usually nothing. They don't have an answer for that. It's sometimes a genetic thing. Sometimes it's just how you take care of yourself. I'd like to think that I got some good genetics, just because the old man upstairs and his brothers and sisters all lived into their mid 90s. And that's fortunate for me. But I'm not taking a chance. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do what I can. And exercise is not, I walked up and down the stairs of my house 5 times today, I watered the plants, or I did a little bit of gardening. You have to do resistance training. That's the only way your body is going to continue to improve or stay status quo. So if you're already in somewhat good shape, the exercise is just going to keep you there. If not, you will decline. You will deteriorate. Your muscle mass will drop. Your bone density will drop. And before you know it, it's all a game of catch up. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the carnivore diet that I did, or I'm doing. And in the beginning, I was very strict. I had injured a knee, and so I had to take some time off of work in order to rehab my knee and surgery. And during that time, I wasn't able to do some real exercise. And so I decided to do some research, and I started the carnivore diet. And in the beginning, I was very strict. It was meat and eggs, and that's it. Everything a body needs: protein and fat. Now, sometimes it's hard to afford the nice fatty meats, New York strip or ribeyes. Those are expensive. And I wasn't really in a position. I've never felt like I've been in a position to continuously eat things like that. Those are like nice fancy thing you go out to dinner and have every once in a while. However, you can get a top sirloin steak and cook it, and there's not a lot of fat in that, and you need the fat. But I would use butter. Right at the end of cooking that steak, I would put about 5 tabs of butter in there and baste the butter on that steak, and then I'd make a sauce out of it. And that top sirloin steak, you can get a 12-ounce steak for like $7. And the other thing is eggs. Now, at one point, eggs were expensive, and we all know that, but right now they're not. $1.80 for a dozen. And if I ate a half that top sirloin steak, 6-ounce steak, and 4 eggs, that's a lot of food. And protein and fats do one thing that carbohydrates will never be able to do, and that's satiate. And what that means is that it sends a signal to your brain that says, I'm full. If you think about it, if you sat down with a steak this big at a restaurant and started eating that steak, you would get partway into that thing and be like, oh my God, I'm stuffed. I can't eat another bite. But you could put a pizza this big in front of you and you'd probably eat almost the whole thing. You'd get full, of course, just by stacking it in there. But if somebody slid a bowl of ice cream in front of you, you'd probably be able to get some bites of that in. And of course, a sweet soda pop. And then half an hour later, you're sitting on the couch watching a show. You got a bag of chips going or something like that. All these things are carbohydrates, and your body lets you just keep eating them. But when you're eating just proteins and fats, it sends the proper signal. This is the same signal that everybody's getting in an injection. GLP-1. The GLP-1s are a manufactured signal that tells your body not to be hungry. But you can get that just by eating proteins and fats. I lost 40 pounds in 3.5 months. And like I said, I was strict, but I was careful. The steaks, get a pound of hamburger. I can't eat a whole pound, but if I cut it in half and I cooked up that half a pound and then some eggs on the side, that's more than a half a pound of food. I was stuffed. And a pound of hamburger is $5. So a half a pound is only $2.50. And then you throw in 3 eggs, and now it only costs you $4 to eat a meal that stuffs you and is extremely good for you. Every bit of nutrients that your body needs is in proteins and fats. And there's a few key elements you might not get every time, like vitamin C and stuff like that, plus the electrolytes, calcium, magnesium, potassium. There's a few other ones in there, but those are the primary ones. Sodium, obviously. And I get those from electrolyte supplements and using Celtic salt. So Celtic salt has a lot of those ingredients in it as well. It's primarily sodium, and it has a very lot of trace elements of the magnesium, potassium, sodium, all the other things that are in there. I'm not going to list everything off. But that's a great way also to add those into your diet. If you retire at 65 and your health starts to decline at 75 to the point where you can't continue on going out, setting up an RV every day, or traveling to new places, getting on an airplane, standing in line, whatever it is that you do in your retirement. 65 to 75, that's 10 summers. You got 10 summers left. Give or take a few summers, but I mean, is that enough? That's not enough for me. So I'm going to make sure that I can push out or squeeze out as many summers as I can get. And part of that is trying to retire early. If I can retire early, that's more summers. That's more springs, more falls. Nobody cares about winter. However, if you travel to the West Coast, the winters are not as bad, or you go down to Florida, obviously, those places, the winter doesn't matter. But I want to squeeze out as many years as I can. Also, spending quality time with my wife or quality time with my kids and grandkids, where I don't have to be like, sorry, got to go to work. I'll be back in 12 and a half to 14 hours. I don't want to have to do that all the time. I want to be able to say, yeah, I'll watch the grandkids today. Or yeah, let's go hang out and let's go watch a sunset. Let's go hike a trail. Let's go to the mall and walk around. I don't know, whatever it is. But I want to have more of those and less of, I got to go to work. Because you know what my work thinks about me? The moment I'm gone, they're going to replace me. So we have when we're going to retire as a factor. We have how healthy we're going to be as a factor. And that's one you have some control over. And we have your finances, which we have some control over also. But like I said, this is not the top five. That's only three things. And this is not the top five list. This is just me talking to you about getting yourself prepared, being ready. Now, if you're watching this and you're 20 or 30, get on the stick and start preparing yourself now, because I can tell you from experience, it happens faster than you think. I was 30 3 weeks ago, it feels like, and I'm not 30 anymore. So I wish that I put stuff in place. I wish I had gotten that job and grinded it out that was paying me a pension or putting more money into 401ks. I didn't always have the opportunity to do some of that stuff. And so I think that there was some bad decisions, misinformed. I didn't think about it, and I wasn't informed about it. And then there's also just the situation of not being able to do it. I was, for a long time, making just enough money to take care of my family. And I do not live beyond my means, per se. A lot of times it was just keeping afloat. So if you're 20 or 30 and you're watching this, definitely put something in place now. Do some investing now. Real estate, obviously, a great option, because what does everything do? It goes up in price, right? So the house that your parents bought 15 years ago is worth more now. And the same with anything. One of my great friends out from California, his parents bought a house for $35,000 that was overlooking a valley all the way out to the ocean. And that was in like the 70s, 60s, 70s. When they sold it for more than $1 million. It always does that. And now that's California's obviously weird, but even the house I'm in right now was probably only about 40 or 50,000 when it was built. And it's worth a significant amount more than that. Real estate is a great option, especially for building generational health, if that's something you want to leave for your kids. But you need to make the plans now. For me, it's a matter of trying to put something together last minute so that I can get myself in a position where I can exist and enjoy this life that I built without working myself to death. So what age are you going to retire at? Is it 50, 55, 60, 65? Where are you at? What does it look like? And sometimes you just got to go for it if you're in a position, because you can't just say, well, one more year. I should be good in one more. I need 3 years, and I'll have just enough. You know, it'll always end up being one more year. Sometimes you just have to go for it. I know that right now I can't, and I do have a plan for a few years from now. My 93-year-old father lives with me, and I care for him. My wife and I do. And my plan is not to put him in a nursing home. He's going to live with me until he dies, if I can. And so if that means that I have to put off my retirement for a little while, then that's what it means. And it gives me time to put stuff into place to prepare for my retirement. But that's just my story. You have your story and your dealings. Maybe your parents are no longer with you, or maybe you have adult children that still live in your house. I did not too long ago, but there's a lot of things that can hold us back, and we have to figure out what plan that we need to make to get into a position where we can retire early. or retire on time, and we got to execute the plan. And sometimes that means push somebody out the door. It means get rid of the big house and the big cars and shrink down. I mean, what do you need? What do you need, a big house? I don't. I can live in a little tiny house. Literally, I could do it. It would be perfectly fine as long as I'm not looking across the hallway and I can see somebody pooping while I'm trying to cook dinner. That would be a little uncomfortable. But if it's laid out properly, you wouldn't have to worry about that. Either way, put some plans in place. Tell me in the comments what your thoughts are. What have you put into place? What age are you going to be when you retire? And do you have a plan, or are you going to wing it? Do you have a savings, or are you going to just rely on Social Security? Is your 401k built up? Mine's not. Yeah, so let me know what you're doing in the comments. That would be great. And I really appreciate you guys coming by to watch the video. And I've got more coming. So stick around. Don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when I post another video.